Hello, I'm here with Jeff Bufton, a long-time board member for the BSGA. How long is it, Jeff?
8 years, just virtually 8 years
8 years.
now.
You're known previously for your work at Science Express, but you've moved recently. Do you want to introduce yourself and talk about your new role?
Okay, yep, so my name is Jeff Bufton. I am the Ops Director now at Interprint, which is part of the ESP group in Swindon. We're the large format and signage arm of the wider print group. So I guess we're kind of mixed formats and we're the large format arm, and I run this site for them, or two sites in Swindon. But going back to the original question, I started in the industry in 1989. Myself and a mate, young early 20s, thought there'd be good money in signage. He worked for a sign company. I worked for Yellow Pages at the time. Who were a big office in Reading, and we thought this will be a go. So I'd done computer studies at school. So we embraced the new vinyl cutting technology of signage back in the 80s. So picked up some agencies very early on. There was a local sign maker, did everything really. Picked up some agencies, picked up Reading Football Club very early on, and did that for probably 22, 23 years. Got to a point, I think, where I didn't want to be an old man making signs. Done lots of vans for tradesmen who are in their 50s and 60s, and I thought, I don't fancy that. We tried to grow and scale, and trying to hang on to customers was never easy, long-term customers, because they just kind of come and go, projects come and go. And I was never a salesman, even though I can talk for England, I was never a salesman. And so the opportunities come along to do some working for other companies. So I kind of took that and have gradually evolved. So I've worked for a point of sale company in the past, trying to get them into the signage industry. I've worked for a Chapter 8 company in the past, worked for and merged a couple of companies together. So I did Chapter 8 kits and vinyl kits, and we've merged them. I spent obviously a bit of time in Brazil on the Olympics, done 3 Olympic Games on and off over the years with various little bits and bobs. So did some stuff at London and Athens and Rio. Then I've come back, worked for an agency in Windsor looking after the O2 accounts, so doing lots of stuff for O2. Then worked for an exhibition company and trying to improve their efficiencies. And it kind of evolved through operational side of things and just best practice and just bringing things together and taking a step back on stuff. Then I worked for a house building company, and then I joined Science Express about beginning of 2018. Stayed there for 8 years, as you touched on, so I guess that's where probably a lot of people know me from. And then I joined Interprint in November of last year, so I've been here for just coming up for 8 months now. So there's a whistle-stop tour, isn't it? Bit varied, bit variety.
I mean, well, it's a rich and varied career in the industry. I mean, it sounds like your real strength is in delivering projects at scale. Would you say that was fair?
I think it's just delivering anything really, whether it be at scale. It's taking that step back, and I'm quite an analytical person, so it's always the ability to kind of take a step back. I don't really do headlines, I do the objective detail, and that objective detail kind of allows me to see where things are going wrong and come up with suggestions and ideas on where improvements lie. So I'm not really the salesperson, so I'm not out knocking on doors. I'm more the person at the back making sure stuff goes out the door. When I was self-employed, I never got paid if a job was done to a satisfaction and people said, actually, you know what, thank you very much, here's some money. So I've always had that mindset of delivery. And I think I've just been fortunate wherever I've been. When you go up to scale, and I've worked at companies £6-8 million a year, so I guess there's a certain amount of volume that's going through because of that. Then I guess at scale. But you've always have a team around you that allows you to do that. The key is how do you get the different cogs in a machine working efficiently? And because I've done every aspect of it, of the customer experience, the initial inquiry coming in, and then I've been able to do design work. I had Illustrator 88 back in the 80s, so I worked with Illustrator, so I'm aware of the artwork and the pre-press process of obviously operated machines. So now how the production process works, I know how to finish, I know about all the quality control processes, I know how to fit and install. Then I'm aware of all the commerciality of how a business operates. Then I did a marketing degree in 2009. So there's a whole world of really all the different touch points of running a business. I've had different exposure in lots of different verticals and sectors. So I guess that means I'm fairly well varied, but you need to be hands-on at everything to be able to kind of support a team in every area. You can see where the gaps are because I've lived it and breathed it over the years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're heavily invested in the sign industry, but it sounds like a lot of it you could have ended up in anything really. The skills are sort of transferable across all aspects of business.
Yeah. I was rubbish at art. My art teacher, I was up doing a fascia, because I can't draw for toffee. So you're absolutely probably right. It's my best mate is still big at Fujitsu. We did computer studies. I was a second year at computer studies at school, O level. So I think there's a whole world of, I could have been in anything. It just happened to fall into the sign industry. And I quite like the sign industry. It's quite varied. There's a whole world of, signage is a very generic phrase. It can mean a whole million and one things. So I quite like the variety it's afforded me over the years. It's never boring. So I've quite enjoyed the variety, and I've been able to apply my skills and my abilities quite well in this industry. So I guess I've fallen on my feet and got quite lucky over the years.
They do say once you're in, it's quite hard to escape. So, proof of that. So the new role at Interprint, how are you finding that?
It's going really well. There's a lot to do. ESP, who I work for, bought Interprint a couple of years ago. There have been a couple of people that have been and gone before me, some of my predecessors. But so obviously it's trying to come in. You fill the hole of the predecessors. You then start to understand what's going on. This company is growing. We're a part of quite a large group, and there are lots of taps being turned on. So it's really important to stabilise things. So again, right in my wheelhouse of just stepping back, seeing where the issues are. Lots of silos going on, and people doing their own little bit. But how does it work as a part of a wider team? So again, you can use process and structure to see where the gaps are and what needs bolstering and supporting. So it's been good. It's like snakes and ladders. There are lots of wins, lots of quick wins, lots of sort of areas where you try and move the dial. So this is quite a solid business. It's been going for over 40 years, so it's got to be fairly solid in order for it to have lasted this long. But I think all you try and do is you move the dial from maybe where a bit of inconsistencies and always isn't bob on. Some stuff's bob on, and you think some things, okay, I've dealt with that, and I go away and deal with something else, and then something goes wrong. You then go back and think, probably I didn't quite deal with that. So it's dealing with the consolidation at pace. We do a lot of on-demand stuff here, so there's a lot of things that come in. For example, we do a lot of posters and personalisation. We've had 600 posters that come in over the weekend. They'll be out the door by tomorrow. So there's a whole lot of it's moving at the time. So trying to do change management whilst you're moving, whilst you're trying to maintain BAU and certain levels of KPIs and standards with all the stuff that goes out the door, it is challenging, but it's good. It's a positive. You see lots of improvements. You look back to where it was 8 months ago to where it is now. It's a much more solid, stable base. We've turned various taps on. We bought new CNC, we bought a new inkjet printer, large format inkjet printer. We've taken on about 4 or 5 staff. We've got 2 more staff starting in a couple of months' time. So I'm well supported by the management team of ESP. So it's good because you can come in and you have to buy into the culture. So you drive the culture, you buy into the culture. Great culture here. You can do things in a collaborative way. I'm never a stick guy. I'm more of an arm around the shoulder than a toe up the backside. So again, it's a great culture to kind of bring a group of people together and being well supported by a management team. So we are on the journey, the beginning of quite a long journey. You asked me in a year's time where it'll be in a different situation to where we are now. So it's going well, but there's still a huge amount to do.
Well, it sounds right up your street. It sounds like you're loving it, Jeff, so that's good news. Can we talk a little bit about the BSGA and when you first became aware of it and wanted to be involved with it?
Yeah, well, I was always aware of it, I guess, on and off over the years. But it was only obviously in publications. If you read in sort of various sign update magazines over these sort of the years, and you're kind of aware of it. So it's only really when I joined Science Express in the beginning of 2018. Craig Brown had just stepped down from owning Science Express as a part of an MBO there. He was on the board of the BSGA, and I think was looking for a replacement. And then within a couple of months, it was I think I was earmarked as perhaps a replacement for Craig. Took that as a compliment. Didn't quite know what it meant. Said I'd go along and support. I like to help out wherever I can. I've done quite a lot in education privately over the years with my kids, various PTAs, school governors, setting up schools, secondary schools generally in the area. So it kind of naturally sat in the things of just getting stuff done. So I went along, I think, early 2018, joined the technical committee, realised there's some credible people there. There's a whole lot of conversations that go on that you're blissfully unaware of that happened. The Magic Sign Fair is effectively, driving standards. There are people that drive standards. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means you go along to various subcommittees and you see these conversations going along. You dip into some of the European stuff that's being fed into the UK. Didn't know that existed. So it was great, an eye-opener to kind of see all the things that kind of happen. It was great to join in, really. But that was been early to mid 2018 I did that.
You talk about sort of Magic Sign Fair standards. So what is it that the BSGA really delivers for its members?
There are lots of things, really. I guess it's a touch point within the industry. This industry is full of lots of small independent sign businesses, and there are a few big boys out there, but there's no real community, there's no real pivot point. So I think it gives that. And once you've got that, then there's a whole world of structure that it can do, of standards. We talk about BS 559, and there's some news coming around that over the next sort of few months around what does that look like? Otherwise, we're just a ragtag bunch of people with vinyl or letters under our arms, fitting things to our own ideas and aspirations. So I like the structure it has. I like the fact that it raises standards. It just gives a consistency. So I love all of that. There's also resources you can kind of tip into. So again, one-to-many assets. So rather than everyone reinventing the wheel, there are some standards there around different types of best practice. So I like that. Obviously, there's education. I got involved in the apprenticeship standard where you can kind of actually influence things as well. So you can become a magic sign fairy, and you can start to contribute and add and refine some of these projects that are going on. So I think it's just a pivot point for where the industry can kind of go off and do their things, and knowing that they're doing things safely. If you look at HASWA, Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, what does that mean to the sign industry? So there's a whole world of standards and competencies that you need to demonstrate, and I think the BSGA helps to deliver that, because if it wasn't there would be nothing.
I mean, interesting. You mentioned that the industry is very much 1-2-man bands out there. Probably don't even realise that there is this body that's there to support and help them. If you could talk to all those people, what would you say about why you should actually take a look at the website and think about joining?
I think it's for everyone, really. It's not for the big corporate players. There are some big corporate guys out there that are driving, having corporate relationships. It's not about that. I started off as a small independent sign shop in Reading. I've worked for various companies across the way over the years, and I now work for a medium-sized company in Swindon area. So I think it's relevance to everyone. It's not just for the big corporates of this world. I think in a world of having a community, having someone to talk to. The most independent sign companies either have their family, they might have a couple of mates that they know, but they have no reference point. If you're in franchising, you have a franchisor, and you have obviously the rest of the franchise community where you can kind of come together and talk to. Most independent sign companies, you don't have that luxury or that benefit. So by being a part of the community, you can you pick up the phone and talk to Linda, Craig, you can talk to myself, you can talk to Sue, you can talk to whoever you want around whatever your issues may be. So if you've got a pain point for whatever issue it is, whether it be a quality control issue and you're getting nowhere with a supplier, then talk to us. We can bounce ideas around, we can sense check ideas. So I think having that place to come to is really important, more so for smaller businesses than perhaps the larger ones. But the larger ones also need a point of reference. They need things like BS 559. You need to know what that means. Everyone needs to know what BS 559 means. I think you need to know what your responsibilities are as under the HSE to run a business generally. And a lot of people probably don't know that, whereas 559 brings large lumps of that in together. There's a whole world of standards and competencies and training and things like that I think just there's a whole world of stuff that you probably don't know what you don't know. And by being a member of an association like ours, all of a sudden you become aware of these things. And actually, not only do you become aware of them, there's a resource there where you can dip into, and all of a sudden you've resolved an issue which you didn't quite realise you had, and you've got some people around there actually have got your back and are willing to support you. And I think that's quite important. I think it's quite powerful. So if I can be a part of that as a machine, that's great. And anyone can be a part of that. Anyone can join us. Everyone can come along to a subcommittee, and everyone can join the main board. If you've got something to give that's meaningful, then it'd be great.
That is a good message to get out, isn't it? I mean, you talked about 559. You've got some experienced people within the board and within the association that have looked at that and putting it together. And it's a real, most people wouldn't have a clue what that was, but it's important to the industry and a great chance to get on there. It makes me think, it's over the years that you've been with the BSGA, what sort of developments like that have you been involved with that have been important?
Well, I think there are trends generally in the industry. So what I've personally been involved in is the apprenticeship. So that needed a revisit from 15, 20 years ago. As the government changed the standards, it's a part of that revisit what was already there. Is it still fit for purpose? So I was fortunate enough to chair that group and lead that. They pretty much give you a blank page and says, right, what do you want the standard to be? So we as a group come together, and as employers from all around the UK came together, and we said, we want this, we want that, we want this. All gets fed together, and lo and behold, we get a standard together. So to lead that group was powerful. I think generally in the industry, technology continues to change and improve. Machines are getting faster. AI is becoming more of a thing now. So there's a lot of automations that are now happening. So vinyl itself is probably an automation itself from the old signwriting days, to be fair. And all vinyl really is a medium to get a pigment or ink or a message onto a substrate. That's changing now. Flatbed printers have changed, and so vinyl's becoming less of a thing. Textiles is probably more of a thing now. Then so again, different materials you can print onto gives you different solutions that you want to be able that you can apply to. Sustainability continues to be a driver. On doing things best practice, so get rid of PVC wherever we can, because obviously the chlorine's an issue. Try and use use recycled content product. Try to avoid landfill if you can. There's a whole world of I guess more responsibility which is kind of being laid into it, along with automation as well. But automation will only get you so far. You still need human intervention in order to make sure that the machines are doing what they should be doing. They're still fit for purpose, and the product that you're creating, and it's still giving the client what it wants really. So it's just almost like I guess it's tools available to you, and trying to do it in a responsible, sustainable way.
I mean, there's so much there. You hit the nail on the head, actually. If you're out there, you're a sign maker, whatever size of company you are, there's an awful lot going on. It's hard to stay on top of it yourself. You've got a group of people that you can pick up the phone to. If you're part of the association, there's loads of information. There's loads of people that you can talk to get the information you need. Where do you see the future, Jeff? Where are we going for the next? You've run through a load of things there. What are the real key things that the next 4 or 5 years are going to matter to the industry?
I think it'd just be a continuation. I'm not sure we'll see anything necessarily new. I think automation will continue. AI will continue. We now are doing quotes. So we take AI really seriously at Interprint and a part of the ESP group. So I think the way that the customer interacts and gets their quote will evolve significantly. I think so AI will have a huge influence on the quoting process. I think automatic impositions and then going straight to print on certain files, avoiding studios, I think will speed things up a little bit. That'll allow for the on-demandness that customers are having. You know, that the Amazon of this world is like, and I guess the impatiency of some people, if they're blissfully unaware of some of the processes involved in signage, people want things straight away. You know, they want convenience and they want it straight away. So I think that will continue to evolve, and we're seeing that, and we're driving some of that here at Interprint now as well. I think sustainability will become more of a thing. I think a lot of it is we're not necessarily seeing it from our customers. It's more what we're doing our own sort of personal agendas. So I quite like this planet. It's been quite good to me. I'm sure it'll be good to others for generations to come. So how do I do my bit to kind of protect it? So if I can recycle things, that's for the greater good. If I can use less toxic chemicals whilst doing it, then that's for the greater good. I'm all into that. It's at the end of the day, as long as I can deliver a product which is fit for purpose to the client, then I'm open to sustainable ideas. Sometimes people just look at the pound note value, and sustainability sometimes costs a little bit more. So therefore, they're not interested in that. But I think you can sell it for what it's worth and what the value is. And I think that gives you more and more opportunities. So I think sustainability will improve. Digital signage will be a part of that. I think we're seeing digital content now more and more over the years. So digital signage was probably coming into its fore 2010, 2011. You look at where it is now, and I think you look at where it is in 10 years' time, you'll see more high street fascias that will have digital signage, more internal displays that will be digital signage. So I think digital will have more and more of a part. But so I think, just a continuation of trends rather than anything new.
Yeah. Well, we're having this conversation in the middle of the World Cup, and some of the digital signage in the stadiums out there are extraordinary. Anyway, thanks a lot, Jeff. I think it's brilliant. We've got lots there. We've squeezed it all into our 20 minutes. Thanks so much for your time, and I'm sure we'll talk again to get into some of these things in a bit more detail in the future.
Great stuff. You take care, Jack.